time clicking on one of my videos, welcome. Today I am going to do more of an informational type of video. I've been receiving quite a few questions regarding my battle with depression and anxiety, so I'm going to answer some of those questions and just give you a bit of information. So let's first talk about what exactly anxiety and depression, what they are. Anxiety is a nervousness, an uneasiness. Depression is best described as sadness, and what I'll do is throw in a few definitions here so you guys will be able to see. But I guess I started experiencing anxiety and depression, I would say, my maybe sophomore year of high school. Let me just say, high school was absolutely horrible. I hated high school, and when I say hate, if there was a stronger word, it would be it. That would be it. I did not have very good high school years. It was just not a fun time. I was bullied, teased, and it was, like I said, it was horrible. So I could say it began around my sophomore year. That was when I would say that I started struggling greatly with my sexuality. When I knew for a fact that I liked girls, but then I knew that that was not an option living in my house. And then I didn't know what anxiety and depression, what they were, but I knew that I was sad. And I was very sad, like very, very sad. And I would sit, for hours alone. I smoked a lot of weed. I guess that was my way, well, in my mind, that was my way of coping. I'm not saying that's what you need to do, especially being young in high school. I shouldn't have been smoking, but that's the past. But I was very sad, and I knew that I was sad, and I knew that it seemed as if nothing could make me happy. And then I knew also too that I was experiencing anxiety because I would be very nervous. I was always consumed with worry, whether it would be about my grades, whether it would be about people liking me or not liking me, or boys not liking me, girls not, whatever the case may be. I was consumed with worry of everything. And most people think, kids, what do they really have to deal with, right? All they have to do is go to school and get good grades. But having children and actually being that child, I know for sure that children have legitimate worries, especially when you're dealing with bullying and all of those things actually. So the sadness continued all through high school. I can remember it being at its worst my senior year. One thing I've always been is very smart, and I noticed that being one of the smart kids was not very popular. It was almost frowned upon because you had the girls who weren't that bright, not being funny. You had the boys who weren't that bright, and they loved me when I let them copy off my test. They loved me when I let them use my notes because they didn't pay attention in class. And I guess a piece of that almost felt like, oh, maybe this is my way of being liked, if that makes sense. And how silly was I know. So what I started to do to fit in is kind of dumbing down my intelligence. I started acting out and cutting school, not going to class. I can remember one time the lady in the attendance office calling my mom and said, can you come up to the school so I can talk to you? And I remember, I think it may have been my 11th grade year. I had missed more days than I had attended. I was going through something, y'all. It had a strong hold on me. But I hated being there. I hated feeling like I didn't belong. So by my senior year, my grades were absolutely terrible. They were terrible. I was doing bad in class, not because I didn't know how to do the work, but because I didn't want to be teased for being smart. Crazy, crazy thought. But that was the absolute truth at that time. And I can remember writing in my journal about wanting to kill myself, and I really did. And by the time I was 19, I had 2 failed suicide attempts. Crazy to think about now, the thought of that even being a possibility, just the things I would have missed out on, right? But depression and anxiety are real. And as a Black woman, a girl that grew up in a Christian family, when it comes to our mental health, it's kind of a taboo topic in the Black community. Let's just be real. And also too, when it comes to the Christian community, because we believe Jesus will fix it. God can do anything. Yes, that is very true. However, He created therapists for you to go to get the tools that you need to cope, because anxiety and depression can consume you to the point where killing yourself is an option. And I'm going to throw in some pics right here so you can see exactly what depression looked like on me. Because let's just be clear, it's different for every person. For me, I was very good at masking. I saw it growing up. You know, you be that strong black woman. You know, you can handle anything. You'll be fine. Just pray about it. So that's what I did. And in these pictures, you can see that there's a smile there. But underneath that smile was a whole lot of hurt, a whole lot of sadness, a whole lot of pain, unaddressed for many years. And so when I talk about mental health in the Black community being such a taboo topic, it really is. I've heard everything from, I don't know those people, why would I talk to them? Or they don't know my plight. But they are trained professionals there to help you. And another thing I hear quite often when it comes to the therapy scene is, I don't want people to think I'm crazy. I hear that more than anything. Having mental health issues, being depressed, or having anxiety does not mean you're crazy at all. Taking the necessary steps to get help shows the strength in you, that you would even go to those lengths to get help. So it does not mean you're crazy. But I am hoping that through this conversation, that anybody out there suffering from anxiety and depression will take the necessary steps to get the help that they need. But my anxiety and depression continued into my adult years. 19, I had major surgery, had an ovary removed, had a tumor removed, had a tube removed, and was told I may never have children. And I was sad. I just did a blog writing about, having a baby is not a mean or an answer to your childhood trauma. But that whole experience made me even sadder, because I kind of felt less than a woman, if that made sense. Having some of my parts removed at the age of 19, that was heavy for me. It was very heavy. But it didn't stop there. It continued into my adult years after I got married. And there's one thing I'm an advocate for, which is therapy. But here's the thing. I'm not a big fan of medication. But if medication is what you need to get you to a place where you can properly manage your mental health, then I'm all for it. I can remember the first medication or first antidepressant I was prescribed was Lexapro. I had to be in my early 20s. I took it actually because I felt like I was going crazy. And I took it for several years. I kind of weaned myself off because I felt like I was in a place where I could handle, and things started to go well until I got divorced. And there it was again, those same crazy thoughts of sadness and kind of, I felt like I was just choking on my own issues, if that makes sense. I was being consumed by everything that I was going through. So I went actually back to therapy, and I was seeing a therapist consistently. And let me just say this about therapy. You may not find that ideal therapist the first, the second, or the third try. Sometimes it takes a couple of visits and a couple of therapists to find that person that you mesh well with. And it took me quite a few therapists. There was some I went to, I was like, this is a waste of my time. And then I finally found one where I was like, wow, I think they actually get me. And that was probably one of the greatest feelings. But as I got older and after I got divorced and so on and so forth, I felt that my anxiety was starting to peak again. And let me just talk about what depression and anxiety looked like for me. It looked like spontaneous bouts of crying. It looked like not eating. I've heard people say when they become depressed or anxious, they overeat. For me, I didn't eat. I would go days without eating because because the sadness would take my appetite, and I wasn't hungry. So I would go days without eating, which in my case, after I became a diabetic in 2012, was not a good idea. But that was definitely one of my major symptoms. I would also isolate myself, and I would just become very kind of withdrawn, very quiet. But it's almost like when you've lived with anxiety and depression for so many years, it almost becomes robotic. It becomes a piece of you until you really get to the point where you can address it and address the issues and kind of get to the root of the problem. Which today I'm happy to say that I finally have gotten to the root of the problem, and I love my therapist. I am no longer taking medication, which to me is a huge bonus. But let's be clear, everyone, this is not an overnight process. This for me took years and years and years and years and years and years of practice and years of work. But there are a couple of things that I would suggest if you are experiencing symptoms. One, I would suggest that you find a therapist. And here's the thing, you don't have to tell anyone you're going to therapy, because quite honestly, it's nobody's business. Or if you are anti-therapy, I would still suggest that you think about it, but find someone that you trust and that you can talk to. Someone that can listen. Because here's the thing with me. I know when I was going through issues and I was talking to people, I didn't want to hear, oh, gotta fix that. I wanted them to be mad with me. Can you just listen and be mad with me in this moment? Let me have my moment. And that's one thing I would suggest. If you are on the listening end of someone who is going through something, just listen without interruptions. Hear what they're saying, and then thereafter provide support. And whether that's another session of listening, or whether that be, advice, but just be very, very sensitive to what they're going through, whether you can relate or whether you can't. If you ever get to the point where you are having thoughts of suicide, please seek help. I can't stress that enough. I was very fortunate that I did not see it through, because I don't know. I know that it would have destroyed my family. I know that I wouldn't be here today and have all of my beautiful children, and I would not be making this video. So to anyone out there who may be struggling with depression and anxiety, know that you are loved. Know that there is a support system out here for you. Know that you can get the help that you need. Even if you want to reach out to me, you can do that, because I know what it's like. I know what it feels like. And never, ever, ever, ever think you're crazy, because you aren't. But your mental health is important. And it is my goal, again, through this channel, to make sure that I create a platform that is supportive, not only to young women of color, but to mothers out there, to children. My goal is to create a safe platform where I can help by doing videos like this, or by doing other videos on topics that I know are more common than people think. But I'm going to wrap up this video here, and if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell so you're notified every time I do upload. I have been pretty good about uploading videos, and expect more great content. And I'm saying great because I think it's great. If you want to keep up with me on social media, go ahead and check out the links in the description box. I'm on Twitter, I am on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Snapchat, and I am pretty active on all of those platforms. So I would love if you followed me there. And again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.